With the tier 3 update later tonight, we'll be getting some pretty game-changing stat boosts. Now this is not just for tier 3 gear, this is for all gear. Most things will now have a material tag, like this armor is leather, this being plate, and this being cloth. Weapons also have a denotation, like wood, iron, and legendaries and heroics will have mithril. Now what does this exactly mean? Well, it depends on the weapons you're using. Right now I have nothing slotted, and if we go and equip the orb, we can then go to our skill page and it will display right here. The orb gains certain boosts depending on those material properties of the armor you are wearing. For example, for every leather piece I'm using, I will gain 1.5% cooldown speed. So currently, with nothing equipped, my cooldown speed is 0%. We can then go and equip one leather piece right here, again with that leather tag, and we now have 1.5% cooldown. Now this stacks. We can equip a second leather piece. We get another 1.5% to a total of 3%. We can get all the way up to a total of 7.5% with a full set of leather armor, as you can see right here. This enchantment bonus of 7.5. So what this means is builds can change quite significantly as a result of these stat boosts. Keep in mind, this is only one weapon. We've just slotted the orb. We can now, for example, equip a wand in our secondary, and we gain its material effects too. And this has for leather an additional 2% per equipment piece. So we should have obtained an additional 10%. Checking that here, we indeed have a whopping 17.5% cooldown speed just because that this armor is considered leather. That is huge. You look at tier 2, even tier 3 armor set pieces, and they rarely give you that many stats. Keep in mind again, it's not just cooldown we're gaining from the leather armor. We're also getting attack speed via the orb, 2% per piece, so we should have 10% attack speed. And we can confirm we do. Unequipping everything, and we have 0% attack speed. Additionally, with the wand, we also get 2% mana cost efficiency per leather piece. That's currently at 0. We equip 5 leather armor pieces, and we now have that 10%. So yeah, you're gaining crazy stat boosts here just from these new material effects, and this is across most of the armor pieces. Like this is just stock standard common gear. Your purple equipment will have these tags too. It will depend on the item set, and these new tier 3 sets have mostly the plate tag, 1 being leather and 2 being cloth. Again, the prediction is that these are not the complete set of tier 3 armor pieces, and we'll be getting more later on as we get more content releases. Quest log will be updated very soon on the global version, which it already has for the Korean version, with that tier 3 armor, and you'll be able to compare versus your current tier 2 armor versus tier 3 and whether it's going to be worth upgrading for you. But just be careful of this material bonus. Unfortunately, quest log has not yet been updated to consider those tags, so you would have to check in game. And these can be pretty important. Like, I wouldn't really want to run plate here if I'm running wand and orb as a damage dealer, because I would only be gaining defense boosts like max health, healing received, endurance, and shield health received. Similarly, I wouldn't want to run cloth, as those are just going to be like healing boosts, mana cost efficiency, shield health, attack range. I'd be far better off having leather as a damage dealer. And this, in my opinion, is a great thing, making it a bit more relevant on what actual pieces you want to go for, and not just what has the best set effect for you. You now need to keep in mind each of those pieces, and when you combine them, what extra stats you're going to be getting. Now just be aware, cloaks are never going to have a material effect, but some accessories do. Not all, very few in fact. But for example, this Death Knell Gorgot is going to have iron, and so is this bracelet. Also has iron. So we're going to have to look at the other weapons and see, can any gain a boost through iron? Right now, orb and wand cannot. If we look then at greatsword, we find it similarly only gain benefits from mithril plate, leather and cloth. Again, favor is towards the leather for damage dealers with max health and heavy attack damage. That's a pretty huge one. If you're on 5 leather, you're gaining 10% heavy attack damage bonus. I will be covering my tests later on that stat, and it can be really impactful. You can see right there, we now have 110%. We then look at the sword and the shield, and these are the stat bonuses you have. They are primarily a tank weapon, so they actually don't gain any damage stats, no matter what type of armor you wear, and you'll probably want to prioritize plate with the HP and CC resistance. Then we look at daggers. These ones have the bonuses right here. This time favoring cloth for damage with cooldown speed and critical damage. But if you're running PvP, maybe you want some extra evasion, so you would go with leather. Then we look at crossbow here. It has these bonuses favoring cloth for like PvE with the attack speed, and leather probably for the bonus damage with PvP. These ones are a little bit odd here for crossbow. They don't look that great even. Then we have a longbow with these bonuses, and if you're a damage dealer, you definitely want to be getting the leather with the attack range and critical damage. You will gain even more of those boosts with mithril, but you can only run 1 mithril piece. Again, that's the legendary armor here, or heroic armor. As far as I can see, the accessories do not have any material tag. We then have a look at staff, and this has these material bonuses, where you will probably want to prioritize leather or cloth with that attack speed and critical hit chance, or mana regen and heavy attack. We already looked at wand here. You ideally want to have leather as a damage dealer or cloth as a healer. And then we look at spear. You can go with either leather or cloth. Leather for the attack speed, cloth for the heavy attack. Again, that's mainly for PvE. Of course, PvP is going to depend on what build and what stats you're actually going for. And again, we already looked at orb, with ideally having leather for cooldown and attack speed as a damage dealer, or as a healer, you can go with the cloth. So yeah, when you're building up your character, these are very important to be aware of, because you will gain them from both weapons. Even having the right weapon pairing can also matter. Like right here with orb and wand, we ideally have leather to get the most out of those stats. If we have 5 leather pieces, that's a whopping 17.5% cooldown speed, an additional 10% attack speed, and 10% mana cost efficiency. That's huge stat gains. And again, it doesn't matter what tier of armor, as they all apply as long as they have a material effect. It just adds another level to min-maxing and what actual gear sets you want to be going for. On a last note, I want to have a quick look at the other orbs. I didn't cover them in my previous video. We had a look at the Archboss ones. Some of you also wanted me to highlight the regular Archboss one. This Tevent, it now just has 60% base damage and an 8% debuff duration per stack, versus the upgraded version, which is going to be 90% of base damage every 0.5 seconds and 12% debuff duration per stack. And keep in mind, those of you did point out, it only costs 20 Ashen Abyss fragments, and that's because this is late to the party with regards to upgrading. These other weapons have had quite some time to gather these Ashen fragments, and their cost is not changing, unfortunately. They have said they will discontinue support for tier 1 Archboss weapons when tier 3 Archboss weapons drop. Now, that's not to say that these upgraded versions won't be at a similar level as the tier 3 ones, but it means when tier 4 drops that they won't be getting a buff or being able to get upgraded to the level of tier 4. So it's more likely they become obsolete when tier 4 comes around in probably a year. But we don't know. We don't know what new weapons they may come out with. And already when you compare versus the new tier 3 weapons, some of those set bonuses may just be better than tier 1 Archboss, even at upgraded. Although they did say they will buff tier 1 Archboss weapon skill effects later in October. So we'll see at that point what that means. But you have the tier 2 orbs here. This one, no stat bonus. This one having when attacking, you can reduce the cooldown of your stellar dash. Another after your stealth ability, you can reduce the damage taken. And there should be a field boss one too. No, doesn't look like it. They didn't add one to the tier 2 field bosses. Ultimately, I still need to do more testing on orb to figure out how good it is. It seems really powerful for just actually healing, but the damage side of things, I'm struggling to find a synergy between other weapons. I personally need time on the global server to test it properly because with this server delay, the attacks are just super slow and I can't really judge how impactful things are. Like, you need pretty fast cast time in order to make the most of orb abilities, and with this server delay, I just can't do it here. So I'll have to wait before I can reach any real conclusions in terms of orb damage. But the healing seems super solid. Overall, hope this helps. Just be aware when you're building your character of those new material bonuses, as they can be pretty impactful, as I just showed there, particularly like on orb plus wand. And yeah, those set effects stack based on how many gear pieces you have of that material type. So thanks all for watching. A special thank you to all these channel members for your extra support, and we'll see you guys around.